Gatien could receive a maximum of life behind bars if convicted on all 5 counts of racketeering and drug conspiracy charges.
Well, Peter Gatien is used to being the center of attention at his clubs, the Limelight and the Tunnel. Today, the venue is a courtroom and his trial.
You get accused of a crime that you really didn't commit, and you face the prospect of maybe 10, 20 years in prison. I cannot think of anything more frightening.
It's like being in a bad dream and you're walking through as sort of like a zombie, but you know you can't be a zombie. You have to be engaged, you have to be focused, and you have to deal with your reality at that point.
And then when you're being put out of business so you really can't defend yourself, and your adversary is the United States government with unlimited resources and badges and guns and handcuffs, it's very intimidating.
The feds rarely ever lose a drug case like this.
While you have the presumption of innocence, most people on a jury look at you and they say, well, I don't think the government picked you out of the yellow pages to get indicted. So you stand with a great deal of prejudice in a courtroom.
Were we confident? We were hopeful, okay? I mean, you didn't want to even entertain the possibility that you would not win. You don't even let your mind go there. It's not, okay, well, let me start planning prison life and let me start planning, how I'm going to take care of my family when and you don't even entertain those kind of thoughts. I mean, start to deal with that reality would be too depressing.
Today, Peter Gatien is in federal court here. He's charged with racketeering and conspiracy to distribute drugs. A prosecutor told the jury that Peter Gatien allowed over 50 drug dealers to distribute cocaine and hallucinogenics such as ecstasy, roofies, and Special K to young partygoers invited to Gatien's clubs.
Nightclubs that the feds described as nothing more than massive drug supermarkets to their young patrons.
The prosecution also detailed how security guards tipped off so-called house dealers about undercover cops and threw out the competitive drug dealers who didn't have Gatien's nod of approval.
I had staff of 1,000 people. Over a 5-year period, probably turned it over 3 times. They couldn't produce 5 security people. With the might of the United States, that could put pressure on somebody saying, did you get instructions from anybody in the Gatien's camp to allow this one or that one to operate in there? They couldn't, because they didn't exist.
And I remember the opening day of the trial, Michelle Edelman, she got up and she said up front, right at the beginning of opening statements, that they had no evidence that Peter Gatien personally profited from the drug sales at the Limelight. So what the hell were we doing there?